Well, and we have a breaking news coming in. A woman opened fire at the YouTube headquarters in Northern California, wounding at least 3 people. One of the victims, a 36-year-old man, is said to be in critical condition, while another is serious. The female shooter later died due to self-inflicting wounds. The police is treating the incident as a domestic dispute.
Every person was shot who was here today. We have 3 victims, they all were shot.
But when you say they had multiple injuries, does that mean each person had multiple injuries?
Well, if you have 2 holes, that means you have multiple injuries, right?
Each one of them?
Yes.
Well, the attack caused panic and chaos into the technology hub in south of San Francisco. Visuals on your screen shows YouTube employees running with their hands raised above their heads. U.S. President Donald Trump took to Twitter and expressed his condolences after he was briefed about the shooting.
Well, I saw the victim. She was in the dining room, and she had a leg injury. That's a gunshot wound. So I put like a tourniquet on her to try to help her. The ambulance came, and then they took her away, put a real tourniquet on her.
And joining me now, we have a WION correspondent, Andy Rossgen from Chicago. Andy, yet another unfortunate incident in the United States. Can you tell us, how did this incident unfold, and what is the situation like right now at the YouTube's headquarters in Northern California?
Well, all quiet at YouTube's headquarters, except for the police obviously still combing over whatever evidence they can find. It was quite a sight, one that we've seen so many times after mass shootings. Fortunately, this was not one of those type of mass shootings that we've been seeing in the U.S., but still the outcome was the same. We saw people running out of these buildings at YouTube, and people with their hands up being frisked by police one by one to make sure that they weren't the shooter. But as you said, by all accounts, it looks like a woman in her 30s, a white woman, came onto YouTube's campus with a semi-automatic handgun, shot this 36-year-old man and 2 other women, both in the hospital, the man in critical condition, the other 2 women with less serious injuries. And we're told that all 3 of them are awake and alert and have been told what has been going on. After that, then, police do say that this woman turned the gun on herself and killed herself. But again, it was quite a chaotic scene. In fact, one man sitting in a meeting at YouTube after the shooting broke out said he thought he felt what was an earthquake, because earthquakes are common in that part of California. But it turns out it was just the rumbling of feet running past of all the people rushing out of the building. And a lot of people went over to a next-door restaurant where they got some treatment. One woman who was hit by the gunfire got some treatment on her injuries there. So now the big question is, how did this happen? Why did it happen? We don't know yet. We don't know the identity of the woman involved. But we do know that YouTube, the people there said today that this was a close-knit family. There are about 1,700 workers at that location. They call it a tight-knit community, like a family. So this really was a tough day for them.
That's true. And Andy, tell me something now. This happened at a very fragile point in time after the Parkland school shooting incident that we have seen, followed by March for Lives, where the entire country came together to demand end of gun violence. Now, what does this incident send a message across to the United States administration, to the Trump administration? Are they going to finally bring something into action? Is this finally going to be the turning point for the gun laws in the U.S.?
This shooting certainly will not be, and that's a bit of how desensitized we've come in the United States. When you have a shooting like Parkland, where 17 students are killed, that is a big deal, and that's why those students marched on March 24th, the March for Our Lives rally, to try to prevent that kind of violence and the violence we saw today at YouTube. But this YouTube shooting by itself won't have one whit of effect. It will be considered, it will be written off as a domestic shooting and nothing more. For those who say that's wrong, well, that's wrong. And for those who say it's no big deal, they'll say that the bigger story here was Parkland and Las Vegas, these other big mass shootings. This one, fortunately, was not a mass shooting, but on the radar scale, so to speak, of how much of an effect this might have on gun control, not a bit.
All right. Thank you, Andy, so much for joining us on that story. Thank you so much.